Hi, everybody. I'm Stephen Bowers. I've had some question about the expected severe weather outbreak across the Deep South tomorrow, especially from the folks who are still following me down there in Mississippi, Alabama, and of course my family and friends down in Northwest Florida. So I do want to do a little video for you here and just kind of give you an idea of what's going on. This is the latest information we have as of Friday evening. This is the Storm Prediction Center's severe weather outlook, which shows a high risk for severe thunderstorms from about Birmingham and Anniston, extending down south and west along Interstate 20 and 59 rather, through Tuscaloosa, Meridian, Starkville, Hattiesburg, all the way down through the eastern side of Jackson there. And then the moderate risk is just outside of that and now extends down to around Mobile, Pensacola, Panama City, and even over toward areas like Biloxi, Gulfport, New Orleans, and even Baton Rouge. And then, of course, the enhanced risk extends up through Nashville, down through Atlanta. That's that level 3, the third highest risk zone there. And it's that high risk especially, but the moderate risk still has a very high tornado risk. And that's what I want to focus on now. This is specifically the tornado risk. This doesn't include the other threats from the destructive wind that can do tornado-like damage, not to mention the damaging hail. Now, where we see that 30% probability, that's in that high risk zone. And in that area, the climatological or historical average tornado risk for the date is just 0.4%. So that 30% is actually about 75 times bigger than normal. The 15% down into the Florida Panhandle and across much of Alabama outside of the high risk, not to mention a lot of central and southern Mississippi, the normal risk there is actually 0.2%. So 15% is also 75 times bigger than the historical average, which we use to define normal. That's the concern here. And in addition to that tornado risk, which is very high, there's that damaging wind risk and that damaging hail risk that we talked about there. Now, I really want to mention, too, with these tornadoes, some of them are going to be on the strong to perhaps even violent side, and some of them may be on the ground for long periods of time. And if you're in Mississippi and Alabama especially, you know that Mississippi and Alabama are really the two most tornado-prone states in the country, and there are more violent long-track tornadoes in these two states than any other state in the country, including Texas and Oklahoma, per square mile, by the way. So here we are, 6 a.m. Saturday. This is 6 a.m. Central Daylight Time. I've adjusted the clock on the graphic here so that we're looking at local time. And we already see these showers and thunderstorms beginning to increase, and they're tracking from west to east. And you see they start to intensify. Now, I do want to point out some of these lone thunderstorms that are down here over south central Mississippi. This is going to be down close to Collins and kind of west and southwest of, say, Hattiesburg and Laurel and kind of northwest of Picayune. Watch those storms. When these storms develop out ahead of the main line of storms, those storms frequently have a higher probability of producing tornadoes. Also, something else that I should mention is exact timing and the exact location of these can vary a little bit, but this does give us a good idea of what's going on. Watch these storms as they kind of come together, and it's a broken line, and it's these breaks in the line, especially the north side of the breaks, where we have that biggest potential for tornadoes, and it's the storms out ahead of it that also contain that. And between about 9 o'clock and noon on Saturday, that tornado risk is starting to ramp up in places like Meridian, Philadelphia, up through Livingston, Decatur. That's over by Meridian, of course. Demopolis is the word I was looking for. And then Tuscaloosa also sees that severe weather threat really beginning to ramp up. From noon to 3 o'clock, that spreads toward Birmingham and extends down through Meridian still, and also down through Hattiesburg along I-59 right up to Slidell and New Orleans. And still there's some strong storms punching through the backside of this. Those can also contain tornadoes. But some of these southern storms that are, again, on the north side of the breaks in those lines of storms, those may have the biggest potential to produce tornadoes as they're developing tomorrow. Then we go from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., and the storms are starting to approach, say, Biloxi, places like Wiggins, and they're heading toward Mobile. They're still in Birmingham, coming into Montgomery as well. And then after dark, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, these storms are starting to build south and east into Mobile. And then from 9 o'clock to midnight, they plow through Pensacola, and you see there actually could be some intensification there as these storms tap the energy from that environment that really hasn't seen any storms all throughout the day, and then that energy kind of lingers into the evening. So still, these storms have the potential, a high potential, to contain some very strong tornadoes. This is midnight, Saturday night. Going into Sunday morning, we see these storms marching eastward through Dothan, Marianna, Panama City, and then after about 3 a.m., they make their way through places like Bluntstown, Quincy, Tallahassee, right up through places like Thomasville, Georgia, and Valdosta. 6 a.m., these storms are starting to lose some steam, and they'll continue weakening as as Sunday progresses. So what I would say to you, if you are in this area, is make sure you stay weather aware throughout the day on Saturday and be ready to move to your tornado safe place, which should be on the lowest floor right in the middle of your home. The idea is you want to put as many walls between you and the outside as you can and cover up with anything you have, couch cushions, pillows, blankets, even a small mattress or a jacket. If you have maybe your kid's backpack is lying nearby, you can cover up with that. And of course, you want to protect your neck and your spine and anything like that. If you have a tornado shelter, that's an even better alternative. Basements are also much safer than being above ground. But I, again, want to very strongly encourage you to just be aware and be ready to move to shelter. If you're in a mobile home, I would look for more substantial shelter to ride out your Saturday severe weather outbreak. This, again, does not mean everybody's going to get a tornado. I do want to emphasize that too, because the reality is not everyone will. But those tornadoes that are around are likely to be awfully close, dangerously close, and for a lot of us, there's a potential for a very dangerous situation setting up across the Deep South, including much of Mississippi, Alabama, Northwest Florida, Louisiana, Tennessee, Georgia, and Arkansas throughout the day on Saturday. And you see that this does continue into Sunday across parts of Georgia, Florida, and the Carolinas. So this is something to watch. Again, make sure you're watching your local media. My friends down at WTOK, I know we're going to do a fine job at keeping you informed, and also our sister stations in Huntsville, Birmingham, Montgomery, and Mobile will also be all over this throughout the day tomorrow. So watch them. Make sure you're aware of what's going on around you. Keep that NOAA weather radio on so that the alert feature is turned on. That can also help to kind of keep you ahead of what's coming in your direction. If you don't live in this area and you're seeing this, I would encourage you to reach out to anybody you know here across the Deep South. Shoot them a text, give them a call, and make sure they're aware that Saturday's weather can turn extraordinarily dangerous, and just make sure they're paying attention as well. So that's what I've got for right now, and I hope everybody stays safe throughout your Saturday.